There is 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. The Indiana Fever have won. They won by a gazillion points, 81-54. Pillow, if she can get to her after this game. Alyssa Smith set basketball back 1,400 years tonight over the feared Las Vegas Aces. By the way, Becky Hammon, she may literally smother Alyssa Smith in her sleep with a...
The reigning WNBA champs, led by Aja Wilson, were untouchable, or so we thought, but the Indiana Fever just sent a bold message. Not anymore. Without Caitlin Clark, the Fever didn't just beat the Aces, they destroyed them by nearly 30 points. Was this a fluke, or are the Fever proving they're not just a one-player team?
When you've got a big three, you've got to have a big game from two of the three. Now, the third is actually setting out, and we've got either Natasha Howard or Ari McDonald, Lexi Hall. I mean, seriously. Back to 1776. I mean, wow. Wow, it was bad. It was bad, but it was a great overall performance. What have I been saying, folks? Somebody of that ilk stepping up for that third role, right? That third person that's going to be there in Caitlin Clark's place.
You're about to witness the jaw-dropping plays and game-changing moments that turned the league on its head. No Caitlin Clark, no problem. That was the story for the Indiana Fever, who proved to everyone watching that they're much more than just their rookie superstar. Heading into this game, most people expected Aja Wilson and the defending champion Aces to roll through a short-handed Fever squad. But from the moment the ball was tipped, it was clear Indiana wasn't backing down. They didn't just play hard, they played like they had something to prove.
It was a crushing. It was an absolute drubbing by the Indiana Fever. I mean, they really put it on. Right here, you can see 24 points. I've got a theory that she's going to be back next week. But that's just a theory for now. All right? Let's get to the game. 81-54. I mean, seriously, for the Aces. Points in the paint, 38-20. I mean, it was a dominant win by the Indiana Fever. Let's just get right here. I said,
Kelsey Mitchell set the tone early, attacking with an urgency the Aces couldn't match. She dropped 25 points in just 28 minutes, visibly taking over the offense in Clark's absence. What stood out wasn't just her scoring, it was how smooth she made it look, knocking down shots at a 50% clip. There was no hesitation in her game, and every bucket seemed to deflate the Aces just a little bit more.
20 points, 7 boards right there. Natasha Howard, a sneaky double-double. A sneaky 50%, 11 points, 10 boards, 3 assists. And we got that. Kelsey Mitchell, an absolute beast. 28 minutes, 9 of 18, 50%, 25 points. Aaliyah Boston, 9 of 13, 69% from the field. Guys, I'm going to tell you, Sophie Cunningham, she only had 2 points. She had a very big steal. The Aces tried to put a little run together to start the third quarter.
Then there was Aaliyah Boston, showing once again why she's already establishing herself as one of the most reliable bigs in the league. She didn't just have a good night, she had an incredibly efficient one. 20 points on 69% shooting while pulling in 7 rebounds? That's dominance. Her ability to control the paint was critical, and every time the Aces tried to fight their way inside, Boston was right there to make them pay. Quietly holding it all together was Natasha Howard, a player who might not always get the flashy headlines but proved her worth when it mattered. Her double-double, 11 points and 10 rebounds, was the glue that kept the Fever composed, especially during certain stretches where the Aces tried to claw back into the game. Howard didn't force anything, she just stayed consistent, creating a steady foundation for everything else to flow around her. What's even more impressive?
And Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hall shut that shit down. They shut it down by hitting some big shots. She's the only one that showed up for the Aces. 29 points and a bunch of nothing from anybody else. Jackie Young, 6 points, folks. 6 points. Like I said, the referees were starting to get on the side of the Aces. They were trying to wheel the Aces back in, and Sophie Lexi stepped in and sort of killed it.
Indiana's defense absolutely smothered one of the most balanced rosters in the league. Jackie Young, just 6 points. The usual sharpshooting aces were completely out of rhythm, thanks to players like Lexi Hall and Sophie Cunningham stepping up to disrupt the perimeter. And the moment that symbolized it all, Michaela Timpson's emphatic block, which not only got the crowd roaring, but also had Caitlin Clark herself leaping off the bench, hyping her team. The Aces weren't just outplayed, they looked completely out of sync. And as bad as it got, Aja Wilson still tried to drag her team back into the game. Her 29-point effort on 12 of 20 shooting wasn't just impressive, it was the only thing keeping the Aces from being blown out even earlier. She fought in the post, hit tough jumpers, and carried herself like the MVP presence we've come to expect. But even for someone playing at her level, there was no covering for just how much the rest of the team fell apart. Jackie Young, one of the most consistent players on the roster, was essentially a non-factor. 6 points in 30 minutes? That's unheard of for someone who's been such a critical part of the Aces offense. Kelsey Plum and Chelsea Gray weren't much better, struggling to find any sort of rhythm against a Fever defense that harassed them all night. Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hall, in particular, were relentless. They didn't just stay in front of their assignments, they completely cut off the passing lanes, forcing the Aces into rushed, uncomfortable shots. The third quarter was the breaking point. Down double digits, the Aces came out of halftime looking to turn things around, but they ran headfirst into a Fever squad that refused to get sloppy. Indiana's pace only increased, and their execution stayed sharp. Aaliyah Boston dominated the paint, while Kelsey Mitchell continued to pour in buckets. Meanwhile, the Aces' attempts at adjustments just didn't click. Whether it was turnovers, bad shots, or missed rotations on defense, every mistake seemed to snowball. And let's give credit where it's due. Stephanie White coached an absolute masterpiece. She used Boston and Natasha Howard to clog the paint, forcing Aces drivers to pull up early, and kept her wings locked in on the perimeter. The Aces coach, on the other hand, their usual mid-game fixes just weren't there. This wasn't a one-possession loss, it was an unraveling. Even Wilson's heroics weren't enough to cover up the cracks. This game didn't just stun the Aces, it sent a warning to the rest of the league. The Fever dominated from start to finish, proving they're far more than just Caitlin Clark's team. With players like Kelsey Mitchell torching defenses and Aaliyah Boston owning the paint, it's clear Indiana has the depth to compete at the highest level. And with Caitlin Clark on the sidelines, what happens when she's back in the mix? Can this team sustain this dominance and make a serious playoff push? Let me know if you think the Fever are title contenders. One thing's for sure, the league better watch out.